Hello Newtons, it's Neojakerton, and I'm going to be talking about something that has been, I guess you could say, in fairly recent criticism, and that is the soon-to-be newest Spider-Man cartoon on Disney XD. You know, the one that has the, I believe, 6 shorts out, even though it's based off of the 5 steps of the scientific method, meaning it should just have 5, but I could be wrong, because I'm doing this off from memory. This will be one of my more, unorganized videos. And, I'm the most biased person to talk about Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. I have been a fan of Spider-Man ever since I was a little boy. He was one of my first superheroes that I was ever exposed to. And it was a really big thing for me. It was a large thing. Oh, God. It was a large thing for me. You know, it's part of it. So I want to give some of my opinions, some of my concerns, and some of my criticisms that I have with the show at the current moment. And see, first off, I enjoy the voice actor for Spider-Man. I already forget his name, but I should have an image to put up right now of who the voice actor is currently. And he does a good job. I'm happy to finally have somebody besides Drake Bell voicing Spider-Man, because he's been doing it for so long. And the show he was voice acting in was trash, and I felt so bad for him because he had to voice a trash Spider-Man in a trash series, and it sucked for him, more than likely. That is not something I'd be proud to have on my IMDb page. But, you know, voice acting aside, character design, and just the general art style of the show, I was hesitant on at first, to say the least. I was skeptical. I thought the art style looked too much like Ben 10 Omniverse mixed with original Ben 10. But it grew on me more and more as I saw what they could do with it. And I guess it works. The way that they drew Peter's hair was kind of obnoxious, giving him the Dipper Pine style floof in the back. But, you know, that's something you can look over easily. And what I love about Peter's design in the first animated short is they give him the circular glasses, which is nice because it reminds me back to the old original comics. Amazing Fantasy. And it makes Peter look nerdier. They found a way of making somebody who suddenly gets, you know, a scrawny nerd look more like a nerd without having to have him be all gangly and shit. And they do the Spider transformation a bit fast, I will admit, but I'm fine with that. But another thing I really enjoy is the poses. They get the Spider-Man poses down with such elegance. That's one thing that I enjoy. Sure, they could use more shading in some parts, because whenever you don't shade Spider-Man's, not his homemade suit, I guess it doesn't really matter for, but for his actual costume, the shading is a big deal. And I enjoy how they did minor alterations to the costume. One thing I was scared of for the actual suit that Spidey wears, his red and blue with the webs and the white eyes and whatnot. Not the homemade one, I'll talk about that in a moment, but I enjoyed that because I was so scared they were going to try, for the next cartoon, they were going to try to copy Homecoming's Spider-Man suit, which would have been boring. We've seen that suit. We've seen that interpretation. Seeing it drawn would be just pointless, and then people be questioning, why isn't Tom Holland voicing this character? Which is a dumb question people ask for everything that Spider-Man is in, where he isn't voiced by the actor from the most recent film and or cartoon series. But I digress. At the current moment, I say that they've made good progress on how to show the movement of the suit, although we've seen very little of it. But they also get Peter's movement down, and the most important thing about Peter is getting his movement down as both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Since whilst they are the same person, obviously, they are very different in the way that they move. Peter is still walking normally and having to move, you know, in a nerd-style fashion, you know, to hide it, versus his pompous stride he could have as Spider-Man. Now, admittedly, in the earlier episodes where he's still an experienced Spider-Man, he could have, you know, a more uncomfortable style of it, and that's what the shorts did well. When Peter was first swinging around and climbing, he was getting used to these new things. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be instantly, oh, I'm into this. No, it should be, what the hell is happening? And now I'm going to go to the homemade suit, which should pop up on the screen right now. It's alright. The thing that I dislike the most is the open mouth. I mean, I get it. What would he have access to? A ski mask. You know, ski masks are fairly easy to get and fairly easy to make if you barely know any goddamn sewing skills. It just requires to make a few hems and just a simple stitch with a sewing machine, and you got yourself a mask. But see, I don't like that. Because see, the whole thing about when Peter's wearing his mask is that it should make it easier to animate, because you just gotta make the chin movement so you can see that he is talking. But adding the mouth makes so much more complications, and honestly, I'm worried it'll make the animation team want to get lazy whenever they have to draw him in the homemade suit. Which God knows in the show how long he's going to have the homemade suit. I mean, the first thing we saw of the homemade suit was when he was fighting Scorpion, and that looks like it was a full-on episode. And the goggles, which honestly I think they used because they were trying to go for familiarity with Homecoming. I could be wrong. They could be doing it just to be original. I mean, the goggles are yellow and see-through, and you can see Peter's eyes a little bit. That's a big difference from the Homecoming suit. I mean, heck, if they were doing that to be creative and original, that is fine. You know, they can do whatever they wish to do so with it. But the one thing I'd be questionable with it is, why are we able to see Peter's eyes also? I mean, I get it. I mean, see, the eyes would have been fine on their own without the mouth. You know, I get it. So we can see all of Peter's emotions. But the whole thing is that most of Spider-Man's homemade suits are able to tell through his actions. And also it's with Spider-Man suits. You can tell his action, through his actions and through his voice, what emotion he is currently feeling. You can tell whether he feels mad or stoked or excited or anything, because of how he acts, how he behaves. It's, you know, typical human behavior to be able to pick up whenever somebody is, you know, upset. Key mood tones by using the voice as a reference for what somebody is feeling. And once again, I'm the most biased person on this, because the first Spider-Man I ever got into was, you know, the Spider-Man the Animated Series, then to Spider-Man the New Animated Series, and Spectacular Spider-Man. Also, don't forget Spider-Man Limited in there, but, I'll admit that one was a bad one. It had potential, but it was a bad one. Why are my dogs barking at? Hey. Sorry, I'm taking a break here to scold my dog. What are you freaking out about, girl? You're safe. There's no bark at out there. Sorry. I gotta tend to my doggos sometimes. She's a goofball of a girl, that's for sure. And see, I even watched a little bit of Ultimate Spider-Man, which that I will talk about in a moment too on my points of what I do not want to happen to this current show. Shit, let's try. Oh yes, but see, I got everything. I even got the 2012 remake, and then the one that came after that with Andrew Garfield, and recently Spider-Man Homecoming, which kicked ass compared to the previous big films, which was great. People might try to say Tobey Maguire is the best Spider-Man. The problem was, I couldn't believe for a second that Tobey Maguire was actually a high school student. I couldn't even believe that he was a senior in high school. He looked too much like an adult. Now, admittedly, he did have the geeky nerd vibe down, but okay, I digress, because I'm going off topic. See, in the show, they gave Peter this really, really, really cocky douchebag pop-in personality. You know, like tour guides talking about the scientific method, and he starts reading off of it beforehand. Or, you know, otherwise he starts whining about things. He, you know, starts spelling out his name security guard using elements. You know, that isn't really needed for Peter. Peter is the quiet nerd kid who, whenever he does answer, like somebody like Flash Thompson comes in and is like, "Ha, dweeb," and then, you know, kicks the shit out of him or something. Because that's how Peter is. That's why Peter is quiet. He maintains this sort of pseudo-invisibility. He tries to blend in, which doesn't always work for him. And the way that they made the spider bite look in that short. I mean, they sort of did the Tobey Maguire style thing when he started transforming, where you looked at his hand and it was like, ugh. And he was all drowsy, and the bite is this big around, which shouldn't have been physically possible. You shouldn't have been able to hide that. And the fact that everybody sort of just starts laughing at Peter once he gets bit also is kind of fucked up. I mean, you decide your classmate get bitten by an experimental fucking spider. Have some concern. I mean, even Harry doesn't have the most concern. When he walks into the bathroom and can't find Peter, he's just like, meh, my fucking friend might be dead. Alright. But see, I do like, though, is how Peter does decide to test it right away. He isn't scared by it. Honestly, they do what I've always thought I'd do if I were to have been bitten by a radioactive spider. I'd be like, well, shit, I gotta test this down and see exactly what I can do, and what I can do with this. And the way they have Peter vlog it is nice, because it's not him breaking the fourth wall like he did all the time in Ultimate. Admittedly, it's still kind of pointless for him to be vlogging it, because he'll be the only one to ever watch it, but it sort of makes sense. He'd have to look back at it and be like, okay, my tensile strength with this webbing was such and such, so now I can make this webbing which will have the tensile strength that is twice that of such and such. It works, and I keep spinning. I apologize for that. Shit. Let's try. And see, they seem to make it seem like Peter knows what he's doing, and he has a lab, and they show him making the web shooters for a little bit. And what I like is that they brought back the concept of him making the web shooters from watches. That is amazing. That is a great idea. I mean, one thing that a lot of people have been saying is that he has no connectors to his hands, no connectors to press down, which, that bugs me a bit too, but one person brought up that when you do this, tendons in your arm move. Not sure if that's true, but Peter could have potentially been that smart to get it to where, yeah, that would do that, and it's a completely different movement from when you make a fist, so it makes sense. It feels different when you do this versus when you make a fist to your body. But I see, one thing I don't like right away with the show is, well, no, I'll save that for last. I want to get my positives out of the way so I can, so I won't sound like I'm trying to save the show at the end. I am saying this show is a worthwhile thing. Don't get your hopes up. We've had our hearts broken before on these fellow Spider fans, but just hear it out. Give it a chance. Give it a shot. Maybe it will be good. But, but see, the fact that they have Peter do the wrestling thing made me happy. And the fact that they named the wrestler Bonesaw McGee was in reference to Randy Savage's character in the first Raimi Spider-Man film. Bonesaw is ready! I will quote that line till the day I fucking die. I mean, I don't like that Adam McGee after it, but of course I doubt they could get straight rights for that. But it's still good. And, I like how they have Peter maintain being a nerd after he gets bit, but he's still but he gets a little bit cocky. He gets a little bit more, like he gets a bit more confident in himself. And that's the best part about the spider bite, what it does to Peter. It makes him cockier. It makes him feel like, shit, I'm stronger now. And see, he's like any other normal teenager. He's like, I could get famous from this. I could get recognition. I could get money. I could be set for life. Well, I mean, honestly, most teenagers would do the same thing if they were bitten by a radioactive spider or had anything else that gave them super strength and certain inhuman abilities. I am a teenager myself, and I would say that I would jump at that fucking opportunity so fast. And see, I like, though, is how they don't have it be like after Peter loses. Because it just shows Peter choosing not to. He's not bitter about anything. He's making the mistake of wanting to be a show-off. Not wanting to have anything get in the way of it. He's just like, not my problem. I gotta go fight. I gotta go make money. I gotta go please my fans. Which truly they weren't even his fans at the time. But then, see, that makes sense because later on he's like, shit, I could have stopped that. My uncle got killed. I would have just not been a cocky douchebag. When in Tobey Maguire's one, you got sort of the same thing, but it was like, I chose. It's like, I chose to be a dick. So now I feel like a dick because my uncle died. And it works. And see, I like the confrontation with the murderer. Because they had Peter let him go out of shock. They didn't have the murderer die for once, which makes me happy. Because and you can say in Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 and Spider-Man Homecoming, we do not know if the murderer, the person who murdered Uncle Ben died. So, you know, that's a bit of an iffy thing. But see, it's a nice thing. Peter has to deal with it. And Peter even himself says that he has to become more than a celebrity. And that's the thing that Peter Parker has to realize. And that's the plot points that I'm hoping that they'll stick with throughout the show, because that will make it great. It'll be like Spectacular Spider-Man all over again. Which, I mean, Spectacular Spider-Man was fucking amazing. And I don't care what some people try to say about the art style for it. I'd draw on that art style if I was forced to pick one art style for my life. For my whole life. Although I might pick the one from the current show if I was forced to have to draw on one art style, because I could add shading to it. Although Spectacular also did have some pretty dope-ass shading. But, okay. Now I think I've covered enough of the good to get into the bad. And the fact is, Jesus Christ, are they rushing some stuff in production. They've already released a teaser thing of the symbiote, and as well as the design for the black suit and the design for Vulture. But those are okay, just as long as they do the design for the symbiote much later in the show, and don't have it be in like the second episode or the third episode or the fourth episode. Pretty much keep it to like near the end of the first season. But no, the biggest character designs that I'm most concerned for is the designs for Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. See, I'm ready to be hated on, because what I hate is how you can never talk shit on Miles Morales. Because people are like, you're racist, you just don't like how there's a black Spider-Man. First off, motherfucker, he isn't Spider-Man. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Miles got Spider-Man after Peter died. Second off, you can't talk shit about Spider-Gwen either. You're just mad that there's a female Spider-Man. There have been female Spider-Man before, and they're all great. And they're more necessary than an alternate universe version. See, what I hate is how alternate works, other works of media that aren't the comics, like animation, video games, web cartoons, lean on the Spider-Verse for everything. And see, what I hate is what Ultimate did. This is what I don't want them to do. I don't want them to pussyfoot around with the concept of Miles Morales. I don't want them to be like, oh, I'm from another dimension. No! For Miles to exist in that universe with Peter, Peter has to die. And see, that's what I hate, is how they had it be like an alternate universe where Peter died, an Ultimate, and he's like, does that mean I'm dead? And it's like, yeah, motherfucker, you are! You should be. You should know that you have to die. But see, what I hate is how they think the kids need to be protected from death. See, I wouldn't want Spider-Man to die at all in a cartoon. I don't want kids to get fucked up by that. But I want there to be like the thing is that Peter won't be around forever. Being a superhero is dangerous. And that's why too many kids shows show that off as like, if you're a superhero, you're invincible! No, you're not. You are bound to fucking die. Even Wolverine has died. Even Deadpool has died. Even motherfucking Cable, I think, dies at some point. And now, so everybody, a lot of people in the Spider-Man universe die. Norman Osborn dies. Eddie Brock, I believe, dies. I think Harry might die at some point. Gwen Stacy died. MJ dies. Ben Reilly dies. See, because what I hate is how kids nowadays see much more fucked up shit before I did when I was little. Like ages way before. You know, just with one little tippy tap on one of these phones or iPads or anything, you know, no matter how much you restrict your kids' internet access, they will find a way to find death. I mean, people think, oh, just because it's a beloved child character, they'll be scarred. No, they won't! If Spider-Man would have died and they had somebody replace him, I'd be like, well, at least he left enough of an impact to, you know, be there. Sure, when I was a little kid, I probably would have cried like a bitch for a little bit, but, you know, I would have been stoked that they would have had him go on through other people. And it's just like in Ultimate Spider-Man. Marvel's Ultimate Spider-Man, not the comics. The Disney XD animated short, Marvel's Ultimate Spider-Man, mostly consisted of... Sorry, my back was itchy. Mostly consisted of the Web Warriors later on. which really made it to where I started to wonder, why the fuck is Peter still being Spider-Man if it's dangerous? There's like, what, 5 other people who could take this job for him, and he would be fine. There would be no need for him to risk his fucking life anymore. He could just be like, well, guys, thank you. It was nice being Spider-Man, but Aunt May's getting too worried about me, and I gotta think about finishing high school properly. I leave so-and-so in control. That would have been dandy. But see, I know that I sort of knew that they wouldn't tackle Peter's death. But I mean, it's in the Ultimate Comics, and that's where Peter dies, and that's where Miles becomes Spider-Man. But, you know, once again, they lean on the Spider-Verse, and they lean on him traveling dimensions, and they lean on this, and they lean on that. That's what I don't want to happen with this new series. Because I don't want to see that occur again. I want to see them do something original. I mean, Spider-Man the Animated Series sort of relied on the Spider-Verse, but that was fine because it was like one of the first... one of the first times they ever done that. One of the first times that had ever been done in a comic book cartoon. The fucking ability to go to another dimension. I mean, other dimension versions of said characters. And that was cool because they limited them. They limited them down to a specific number. Whereas fucking Spider-Man, or Ultimate Spider-Man, the Disney XD series, was like, here's all the Spider-Verse! Here's multiple Green Goblins! And I'm like, no, we don't need that. We don't. You could have done something so much better with it. And see, that's what I'm hoping this new show does better. And I'm hoping that Spider-Gwen... I'm hoping Spider-Gwen is the only interdimensional thing. Because that is an alternate universe where Peter Parker dies. It's an alternate. It's a dead set alternate. Which makes sense. It makes so much sense because it's like, who else was there that day when the Spider was there? Gwen Stacy! And admittedly, we now know in the mainstream comics, I believe it's a mainstream, although it could also be Ultimate. My memory is a bit fuzzy right now because I'm going off the cuff, but there's another lady that got bit by a spider, and I want to see that happen at some point. You know, Cindy Moon, or Silk. Because she is a badass character that's in-universe, and it would make sense. Sure, they would have to wait a bit to bring her in because Spider-Man doesn't find her till way later when he is a grown-up, you know, not a teenage boy. Which honestly is good because the pheromone-induced stuff that happens and that would be really, really inappropriate to animate or even draw if they are both still teenagers. And see, another thing that I'm sort of iffy with is bringing Spider-Man to a slightly modern setting. Because see, the fact is that the shit at Oscorp was meant to be revolutionary back for the time when Spider-Man was originally created. As they moved it on, they've been, you know, keeping that as the highest standard. But I mean, some of their shit isn't even amazing anymore. Like self-sustaining power grids. Boy, those are fucking everywhere. And I guess, you know, you can make the argument that, well, it's maintaining the standard, saying, oh, this is the one place where all the big shit happens. Which is okay. You know, because you also got Stark Industries rolling out shit, and, I believe Alistair Smythe might do some shit in the future. Because Alistair Smythe is mentioned in, the shorts as well. I'm not sure what they're going to do with him yet. Another thing I really don't want to happen is the figure craze. I want there to be reasonable amounts of action figures for this show. You know, with good accessories. Spider-Man toys used to come with good accessories before they got hit by the same big movie action figure craze. Spider-Man mountain climber, Spider-Man with web gauntlets, Spider-Man with web armor, Spider-Man with... No, shut the fuck up. Just give me Spider-Man with like a web and a wall, a destructed wall, and, you know, maybe fucking, I don't know, give me one of the legs that I have to buy all the figures with so I can build up the giant figure. Maybe make it Venom. Maybe make it fucking Vulture. Maybe make it one of them. I'm fine with that type of stuff. You can even capitalize more on Vulture because you can include the wings as separate pieces. My phone is dying, but that's okay. Okay, but see, I believe that is one of the things that kills animated series so fast. And I believe, from memory, that was one of the things that Spectacular Spider-Man avoided with its merchandise. We got good figures. We got a cool-ass Venom figure. We got some... I remember one of my favorite figures was one of Peter where he had the unmasked head that he came with. And I believe there was a figure of the Rhino and Sandman. I can't remember. There was definitely one of Dr. Octopus. I had that too. Except I lost every single fucking arm. Every single octopus arm for it. Which makes me still cringe to this day how I lost the main parts that made him Dr. Octopus. And see... it's important. It's a necessary factor that you have merchandise and toys. I mean, what I hate, though, is how even the Spider-Man Homecoming toys have started to do that. I don't want the merchandise craze to take it and ruin it. I am, for one, not a fan of that. I appreciate and I love the work. You know, absolutely love the work that these toy designers go through to design these, because that's the only way we get them. Those toys have to be designed and then safety tested and then produced. You know, put together and then shipped down the rest of the assembly line by somebody who probably fucking hates their job. Which, factory workers in toy factories, I appreciate you. You're the real MVP. Wish I could build you a toy for once so you know how it feels to get something that cool granted to you. Because every action figure is a gift, no matter how shit it is. Even if it's $1 for one. Sorry, I went off topic. I got kind of angry. But, see, Spider-Man has always been a tricky thing. But, see, I think this series has hope. And, you know, if we just cross our fingers, maybe we'll get something great. Maybe we'll get something amazing or spectacular. Or, you know, anything besides Ultimate. And one thing I want to say is that the fact that they showed the bullet that killed Uncle Ben in motion was great. Although I'm sort of iffy on the fact that how we haven't seen Aunt May, but we have seen the design for Uncle Ben. And see, that's all stuff to come later on down the road, and it'll be great. And it's important that we just have faith that this will be good. Because in the end, that's all you can do. Not everything can be perfect. Not everything can be a good piece of work. But see, what Homecoming taught me is that it's possible to revitalize the writing of Spider-Man. It's possible to make a Peter Parker of a newer... Oh my god, my dog's whining. It's possible to make a Peter Parker of a newer generation relatable. It's easy and it's possible. It's possible. It's not an unthinkable act. It's not something that's hard to do. It's not something that would be a pain to do. It is physically possible. And I'm hoping that the writers do take some notes from the writing in Homecoming for this series. Hell, I hope they even take some story arc notes. What they could do for story arcs, how they could insert characters. Because, honestly, when I finally get to do my review on Homecoming, when Spider-Man Homecoming comes out on DVD, I will unload more about this topic. But until then, keep hoping, Spider fans. And this is Neojakerton, signing off. I just wanted to do a quick shout out at the end of this video to a couple of people. Just because... no, I was about to say just because I'm feeling nice. No, I'm doing it because they genuinely deserve it. I'm going to do a shout out to Liv Ancina. She does not have a YouTube channel yet, but she's a very smart, very intelligent lady who does a lot of cool shit, and she is genuinely amazing. And I think a lot of people who are into different forms of stories, and hell, she's working on tabletop RPG if anybody's interested in that stuff. I will put a link to her Twitter down below, because through that you can find, you know, all of the other aspects, everything else she works on, all the different mediums. Another person who I wish to shout out is Lieutenant Goomble. He's a pretty rad dude. He does a lot. He has a lot of worthwhile streams. The most recent things he's been streaming is Metal Slug, and he has been kicking ass at that. And I just want to say he's doing a pretty good job of the game. Another person is the Neon Legend. They make videos from time to time, and they also sometimes I believe will work or have worked with Lieutenant Goomble. Waffle Cop, he makes goofy videos, he deserves credit as well. And I can't forget, and this will be a link to a Tumblr blog, it'll be a Tumblr blog called Ask Crazy Canada. And he is a really cool person, somebody who I've been friends with for a long ass time. And I think it'd be cool if you gave them some support and checked out their stuff. I will be doing a podcast in hopefully the near future with him that I hope a lot of people will enjoy. So yeah, if you have time, go check him out.